Hey guys, oh my goodness, right? I know what you're going to say that we've got another amazing guest. And yes, we do, right? I can't help myself. Oh my goodness, her name is Sarah Abel. But get this, guys, right? She shows you how to find money for your business. Yes, there's money out there apparently. There's millions out there that you can be applying for and using in your business. And she knows exactly where they are. Like it's a secret, but not for Sarah. And today, she's going to be explaining to us why we need to be setting up our business the right way in order to be able to get our hands on this money. Right? So, guys, stay tuned because she's going to be spilling all the secrets about funding. Oh my goodness, Sarah, I am so excited to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Kay. I'm excited to be
Right, when you started telling me about funding, right, and I started learning more and more, right, I had no idea there was so much money around.
No, and it came as a surprise to me as well that people didn't know, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think back in I think I went on online back in I think it was in 2020. I'd already built quite a successful business there already, and I only went online because I was working with some of the employers I was working with this funding to keep in touch with them, and I went on there basically to tell them where the grants were that they could get hold of while COVID was happening, and how to apply them, how to set their business up to be able to get them, and do all the things that you need to do. And it literally was like 40 salons at the time, because my background is from the hair and beauty sector. So it was like literally 40 salons, and it grew in about 8 weeks to like 700. It was like literally like,
Oh,
and then it was like, oh my God, these people don't know what to do. And it became like, I realized people either have got no, most people get into business because they want time and money. That's what
yeah.
they want. Okay. And what we often find when we start our businesses is that we get some money, but we have no time. Do you see what I mean? So it was like, okay, these people don't know that about it. And then I would start talking to them about not just that, about the way that their business was already set up. And I began to realize very, very quickly, even if they went for funding, they wouldn't probably get the funding because they haven't got the systems and the processes and everything you need to be able to have it. Because when you do get funding, it's a lot of money, and you have to be able to deliver, and you have to get outcomes, and you have to be able to show people that you are making a difference. So your funders are giving you the money to develop people, and if you can't give them those outcomes, you're
Right.
not going to get it again. So like for me it was like, okay. And the other thing is we wanted to scale even bigger, so we were looking for maybe people that had the expertise in what they do, but didn't know how to put the money behind it. Does that make sense?
Mm.
To get it out there, and then didn't know then how to set the business up when the money comes in, because when
Right.
it starts flowing in, you get, it's a lot of money. Do you know what I mean? Like you can get contracts of like £500,000. How do you
Wow.
deliver that type of money if you haven't got everything set up in the background? And it was like, okay, there's two things here that people need, they haven't got. I know how to do it. How can I now make that part of my business to help them to be able to grow and scale? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's how it all come about, really.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I want to get more into this, right? But before we do, I would love for you to share, right, how you got into this industry, right? Like, what did your journey look like? Because you have a seven-figure business now. Now, that doesn't come easy, and it most definitely doesn't happen overnight, right?
It definitely doesn't overnight. And I'm probably, if you go on my social media, I'm the one that's telling everybody, listen, when you hear these people telling you can make millions tomorrow, it's absolutely a lie. Do you know what I mean? I've never met people that have made a lot of money and sustained it. Do you know what I mean? Because like everyone can have a big pot of money from somewhere and then spend it all and then it's gone. But you
Right.
need to be able to sustain it. And I suppose I've come from, like, I mean, my very first business was in 2001. Okay, so we're now in 2024, so it's 24 you know, years. And when I say my first business, I had little businesses when I was younger, like as in I would tried everything. The Silver Neve, we had a milk franchise. Oh my God.
What?
Oh,
Wait. Oh, wait, hold on a minute. A milk franchise.
yeah, we had a milk
What
franchise.
does that even look like?
It was horrendous, I can tell you that. My husband was, it's a milkman, but basically what the dairy keeps your money and you do all the work. And that's exactly what I found out in like 2 years. It was my poor husband was like working 6 days a week and it was horrendous. And I would never recommend it to anybody. Do you know what I mean? So, but we learned loads of stuff on that, you know, like you learn along the way. And when I say I had my first business, I mean my first business that worked. Does that make sense? The first business that actually I grew and I was making some money out of it. Whereas all the other businesses, I had them, but they just they were side hustles. Does that make sense? I did it while I was in a job.
Right. Okay. So, from what I'm hearing, right, you were really like business savvy from a very young age and you dabbled on several different things. Now, I'm just curious, right? I'm curious. What kind of things did you dabble in that didn't quite work, right? And what were some of the lessons you learned from those?
Okay. So I did network marketing.
Oh,
I learned, yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard of Amway. It was a long
yeah.
time ago, years ago.
Mhm.
Learned loads from them. I learned about about communicating with people. I learned that if you are going to be successful in life, you need to be able to take other people with you. Do you know what I mean? You can't be successful in life just on your own. And people that think that they can, you just burn out. Do you know what I mean? You just can't. You need other people on your board. So that's one of the things I learned from that. From the milk franchise, I learned if you build relationships with your clients and you look after them, they will look after you. Do you know what I mean? They were
Okay.
like, so that was another thing I learned. I did so I learned flowers. Me and my husband had like a you know, like party flowers. So we would like put these flower things together and
Right.
yeah, I learned that I was rubbish at it.
Wait, was your husband better at it than you?
Yeah, he was better at it than me. Do you know what I mean? He was because he's more creative, as in like I'm creative in the head. He's
Okay.
creative in the
With his
like
hands.
yeah, he's
Right.
amazing, totally
Mm.
amazing. That's why I married him. So that, so I learned something from that. What other ones? I had a children's clothes business. So I
Oh,
used to go
goodness.
out with parties and like me and my friend did it together and I had a partnership with that. What I learned is that partnerships aren't always equal. Okay.
Yeah.
I loved her, but if you're going to get into business with anybody, you need to make sure that they're complementing your weaknesses. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, so that's
Mhm.
something I learned from that. I'm trying to think what else I did. So I did that. Um, Probably. Oh, yeah. We did we say no? We sold clothes. So I did like as well as that, we did like fashion shows. Does that make sense? I
Right.
learned when you're dealing with children, you have the parents to deal with as well.
Right. Yes.
So there's a few things that I learned. And then obviously when my first business at work was a small salon. So like that was like literally I was an area sales manager for a company called Avon. I think most people have heard.
Yes.
Yeah. So I used to go out and find people to put those books through your doors. That's what I used to do. And
Ah.
I used to teach them how to sell products to the client. So I
Oh,
got
interesting.
two very big areas out. One was in Bexhill and one was in Ashford. I think I took one of those areas from like 400 in the country to 200 in 3 months. And then
Wow.
I took the other area from like it was about 350 to nearly I think when I left Avon, which was in 2001 when I started my new business, and was I think it was something like 51 in the country. So I knew how to I learned how to motivate people and then like these are self-employed women that they don't know what to do. They're just
Yeah.
and I also learned in that, okay, which was a really big one, is when I very first went to work for Avon, was they gave me a book and they said, these are all the people that are in that area that are buy from it. Go and knock on all those doors to see if there's anyone that wants to take over this.
Whoa.
And I learned that I wanted to be home for 4, 5 o'clock. I didn't want to be there at midnight because that's the only time everyone was home. So what I did was I learnt how that you have to go and niche and find people where those people went. So I realized that most people that would normally do this would be mums. And so I used to wait for the school run, wait till they were coming home after they dropped their kids off. I would park my car and then I'd walk up to them and say, "Hi, I'm Sarah. Yeah, I'm in
Ah,
the area. I just wonder if you know anybody that might be interested in making a bit of extra money. You could recommend to me. I'm from Avon," because it was well known then.
yeah.
And they would either say, "Oh, what do I need to do?" Or I would get them. They would say, "Oh, I don't know anyone, but I know someone." Then I would take that name and then go to the next person, that person, and go, "Hi,
Mm.
Sally said down the road to come and speak to you." So you know that building relationships up and the referral stuff. I learned quite a lot of my selling techniques from doing that, basically.
Wow. Okay, so again, one of the things that really is shouting out to me is that you were very strategic, right? And you learned that strategy is the way to go,
Yeah,
right? But then at the same time, I'm thinking what you did just there, right, is put a plan together, right? Go take your car to that location, wait for them, speak to that person. They're not interested, get a referral, then go to the next person. Like, that's a lot of work that most people wouldn't do.
I know, totally. And you know, it surprised me. It's helped me in my other business because when I did finally buy a salon, because what happened was I was an area sales manager. They wanted to make me a regional manager. I didn't want to do it because it meant leaving my children. So I
Right.
thought, okay, what can I do? And then I walked into a salon one Christmas and the woman said she was selling it. So I said, "Oh, how much do you want for it?" And she said, and it wasn't very a lot of money. It was a lot of money for me at that time, but it wasn't a lot of money now in the scheme of things. It was a
Mhm.
risk. Do you know what I mean? It was like, okay, if I'm going to take this business over, I'm going to have to learn how to do it. So that's exactly what I did. I learned from her how to run her business, and then I learned how to do nails basically, and
Huh.
that's the way that we did it. And then I left my job and then took that business over. Failed quite a few times in it, do you know what I mean, like as in it weren't so much I weren't good at what I did. What I was really good at was building relationships.
Yeah.
So when I wasn't that good at nails, people would come. If they didn't come back, I ring them. I go, "Why have you not come back?" They go, "Oh, my nails all fell off." And I go, "Come back in. I'll redo him." They'll
Ah,
just redo him. Do you know what I mean? Like I had
yeah.
those people skills to understand that people were like they wanted a good job, and if I wasn't going to give them, I was going to make sure that I gave them the good job. And then what I would do is I'd put like little on each of their nails. I'd put a little pattern on because at those times there wasn't digital marketing out there. So what used to happen was is my salon was called That Nail Place Limited because,
Okay.
and the reason I've named it that was because if you go out and you have some patterns on your nails, people will go things like, "Where'd you get your nails on?" "That nail place."
Yeah. Oh, see again, strategy. Check
Yeah,
you out. Oh my
totally.
goodness, I'm loving this. Okay, now you have tried so many different things, right? And each one being completely different to the other. Right? Was there ever a point where you're like, oh, screw this, this isn't even working. I'm just gonna stick to a
Yeah.
9 to 5.
Yeah, there was loads of times that I
Yeah.
felt like that. I think anyone that's been in business that says to you that they don't feel that at times, there's been times when I felt like walking away from my business, loads of times. But
Mm.
the difference is, I think, because I had when I was young, I had quite a lot of things happen to me as a child. I was a child carer for my mum. My dad took his own life. I was quite resilient. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm a trier, and I always knew that my ultimate goal was to work for myself. I didn't want to I'm not very good at working for people because I'm very, very creative. Do you know what I mean? In my head, I come up with ideas, and I get a big buzz from doing that. I'm a problem solver. Do you know? So I love solving problems. So being in a 9 to 5 job, I think would have made me really sad. Do you know what I mean? But and so I think the thing that stopped me walking away from those businesses was, if I don't do this, then what am I going to do? Do you know what I mean? What am I going to do if I don't do this? And because of that, I think every time I went down, I then thought, how am I going to get out of this? And there was loads of ways that I did it. Like I've gone and got investment from people, like, because people trusted me, I think, because I'm very honest. I've always told people as it is. So I suppose, and I know that if I'm going to take money from somebody, I'm going to give them either a service, if that's what they paid me for, and or I'm going to give their money back. I'm going to get their money back for them. Do you know what I mean? Because I could never, like, my value, I've got such strong values around that. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. So, people fail in life all the time. I've failed over and over and over again. I think in business, you will fail over and over again, but it's not about the failure, it's about the learn that you get from that failure. So every
Right.
time you don't, I always say to people, even now when I'm training anybody, and I'm training business owners to grow their businesses, but also get access to the government pots of money. I always say to them, don't ever feel that if something doesn't work out, that's the end of it. So, like, you might do a tender for something and you don't get that tender, but they'll give you feedback, and from that feedback you will learn, and then you'll do another tender, and then eventually you'll get that money, because that's how we got it. We literally would go for tenders, not get them, and then go, what can we do? And they give us feedback, so we would tweak our bids, and then we'd go again. Do you know what I mean? And go again until eventually we got a really big contract, and we got, like, I think we were out of, I think it was something like 2,000 training providers in the whole of the UK. Yeah, 50 only got it, and we were one of them. It was 500,000, so it was a lot of money.
No way. Oh my goodness. All right, so I'm interested. How many tries did you try to do a bid before you got that contract?
Probably, if I think back to it, probably 5 or 6. Do you know what I mean? Because but those bids don't take overnight. Like, sometimes, like Julie and I, who is the other director, and this is another thing, she wasn't in my business originally, and this is what I mean about building a team around you.
Mm.
Don't just be so reliant on you. And I think a lot of small businesses, when I speak to them, I don't want to employ anybody. I had a nightmare with employing people, and they were, I'm never doing it again, because they might have come from another thing. So did I. Do you know what I mean? And I had loads. I think, if you were to sit down, and I can tell you all the things, I've had people steal off me, I've had people
Wow.
clients off me, I've had people, yeah, it's just part of being an employer. You're gonna go
Mm.
through those. Would I stop being an employer now? Absolutely not, because for all those few people that make it difficult for you, there's 20 that don't. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the only way you're going to ever grow a business is by taking yourself out of that business and letting people that are cleverer than what you are in that department. Do you know what I mean? Like, my strengths are vision and creativity. I can problem solve, I can sit there and I can point. But if you ask me to put, I don't know, a Canva together of a presentation, that'll be like, it'll take me forever. Or a techie thing, like put
Yeah.
a magnet together. God, I haven't got a clue. Do you know what I mean? It's like, go and find those people and don't be frightened. But I think what a lot of people do is that they get overwhelmed with it all. They think they need to do everything. And probably, when I look back, what held me back most in business was not letting go quicker. Do you know what I mean? If I let go quicker, I would have accelerated quicker. And since I have, my business has just grown and grown and grown. Do you know? And also, as well, that I think it's also, my business has been different stages. So, like, I grew it to 5 figures, and then I stayed at that for a while. Then I grew it to like 6 figures. It stayed at that. Then I grew it to multiple 6 figures. Then I'll grow it to over 500,000. So it's grown steadily. It's not gone from naught to, you know,
Right.
figures. It's grown steadily. And I think that, and that's been a good thing for me, because when I tried to scale too quickly, and I did at one point, okay, I didn't have all those systems in place, and then I didn't give a good service. So then that went against everything that I believe in. So that was the end of that.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. So you have mentioned processes and systems quite a number of times now.
Yeah.
And it seems to be the one thing or the main thing that will hold you back, your business back, right? And the fact of getting more funding. And so, and I know that you actually help businesses to put these processes in place.
Absolutely.
What are some of the common things? right?
The,
That you see again and again that people aren't doing and it needs to be done.
well, the first thing is the basic thing is they don't actually have a mission or a vision of what they want to achieve. Do you know what I mean?
Wait, hold a second, but it's just making money, right?
No, not at all. And I think that people make that mistake
Yes.
because what they do is when they and that's quite normal. Do you know what I mean? I did the same, you know, like it was like I just need to get money in my till. Do you know what I mean? I don't need to get as much money, and that's when I had my nail place. It was like I just need to get that. Then you start expanding and you I had another salon, then another salon, then I had like 5 salons with different people in different things. I didn't really know where I was going with it, nor did my team. Do you know what I mean? So like if they don't know what they're doing, then they up and leave because it's like there's no vision to where what are we all working towards? What is that end goal? And the other point is when you go for funding, funders have a mission. You know, like, you don't go into a corporate business or you don't go into Coca-Cola and they don't know. Coca-Cola have their mission and their vision, they have their core values all in place. There's a reason for that because they take their team with them, and that's why they're successful. If you go into McDonald's, you go in and they'll go, do you want chips and Coke with that? Everyone is the same. It's like, you know, it's very much like about having that very clearly written in a mission can be a very short statement, and then the vision is what you're trying to achieve, and then your core values underpin who you want to work with. Do you know what I mean? That's your brand values. That's how people know actually I want to work with Sarah because she is like her honesty of what she is. You know, Lisa's a prime example who we work with at the moment. Integrity to her is a very important value.
Mhm.
So she's not going to work with anybody that haven't got integrity. So you can make some, and your team can make those decisions. So, like an example is if they've got a difficulty with a client, they're the things I ask them. Okay, this client, are they keeping it real? Are they committed to succeed? Are they have they got a passion for learning something new? Do you know what I mean? Then you can literally go, no, they haven't. Well, why are we working with them? That's why you're having all the problems because they're not in the same, they don't want to make it work. And it's really funny when you start putting your values out there and you've got your mission, your vision very, very clear of what you want to achieve, then you can take those people on that ride with you. Do you know what I mean? Because they believe in what you're trying. And this is the same with funders when you're going out there to ask for money. They need to know what you're trying to achieve. Does that align with what they want to? I mean, I had a meeting with a possible subcontractor because we don't just fund directly to government. You can contract with other training providers if you have all this stuff in here. Do you know what I mean? And so
Right.
if I wanted to have some money in London that we wanted to use, the reason we got that tender was because when they started talking to us, they said we aligned with their values. Do you see what I mean?
Ah,
So that's
okay.
what I'm saying.
Interesting.
It wasn't me that wrote that bid. It was one of my team that wrote that bid, and it was one of my team that was in there with that meeting because we're all talking off the same song sheet. Do you see what I
Yeah.
mean? We're all saying the same thing, and it has to be really embedded into your business right from the beginning. So that's one of them. The second one I think that is massive is people don't know their numbers inside out.
Oh
Okay,
yeah. Yeah, that's
massive
common.
one.
Hmm.
And that's because like I was the same, you know, like I brought in so the other director that's in my business, she bought into my business. Now the reason she bought into my business is because she believed in my vision and her values are exactly the same. So she
Yeah.
bought when we wanted to go to another part in the business, she bought into the business so that we could use some money to be able to expand further. And I'm not suggesting everyone wants to do that. Some people won't want to do that, but you will with investors. If you get an investor that wants to come to you, like for instance, at the moment we're going for a bid for it's about £100,000 from our local council who want basically they want increased employment in the areas. So
Ah.
that's what they want. So we were able to we did so we wanted to open a place locally and actually buy a property quite near to us. We decided not to in the end because it was going to spread us too thin and we don't really need it because we're putting a lot of stuff now online, so it would just be another overhead. So we thought, no, we're not going to do that. So we went back to them and said, we're not going to use this money for this now. We decided that we're going to walk because it was a project, and they said to us, no, we want to give you the money. Can you come up with another project? And
No
we went,
way.
yeah, they went, because everything that you're doing, we need to give you this much. Because what the people don't realize about funding is that the government are given pots of money, that's our taxes,
Mm.
okay? And they have to spend so much on education, so much on the NHS, so much on this. Now they then they feed it down to the different funders like your councils, the local colleges. If they don't spend that money, they have to give it back to those people at the end of the academic year. So for them, they need to spend that money. Do you see what I mean? So they need to get it out there. Otherwise, they failed in that what they've done. So once you know these things, and you can deliver it, and you've got the systems and the processes in place that you've got the policies, you've the procedures that they're looking for, because especially with government money, it's all audited.
Yes, that's right.
Do you know what I mean? So like all of this type of stuff is really important. And I just wish that when we very first got into it, I had someone holding my hand through it, because we literally stumbled, failed, stumbled, failed, stumbled, failed. And it was like literally like so painful. And now we've got a real clear roadmap to get people from there to there, and also have access, because we want to work with them ourselves. We're now we've got big contracts that I want other people to have access to the money that I've got, so we can work with them. Because if we can work with them, I know they're really trained very well if we've trained them, because I've trained
Right.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I want to take a couple of steps back here, right, and go to the first point that you made regard to having your missions, your values, and all those kinds of things, because I feel like there's a misconception that you only set that up once you become corporate, right?
No,
Not in the beginning when you're small businesses, right? Because I
I
think in
wish
the
I wish I had done it at the beginning. You know what I mean? I learned to do it because I failed so many times, and it was like, this is not working. Why is it not working? Why are our team not? Like I remember having a conversation with a business mentor that I worked with, and
yeah.
he said to me, "Well, if you don't know where you're going, how does your team know?" And I thought, yeah, how do they know? And he also said to me, I said, well, they come to, like, I used to get team members that would come to me and they would say things like, what do we do next? No, I want you to think about that. I don't want to, I want
Yeah.
you to do that. But they were scared because I was so controlling. Do you know what I mean? Because I was
Ah,
micromanaging them. It was like, no, you need to do it this way. I think once you realize that if you have all this stuff in place, they will come up with the ideas themselves. And if you trust them enough to be able to do that, to make mistakes, because they will make mistakes and they will cock up. I remember a young man that we had working for us in our set he was one of our lead connectors. And
mhm.
one of the things that we do is because we work with other employers, where we will train their people up within their businesses, using our apprenticeship scheme. So we have like an apprenticeship pot of money which they can get access to, or we get access to it, but they don't have to do the training. So one of the things that we do is when we go into the businesses, we'll advertise that position for them, and we'll pay for that to be done. And we have like a budget on the one of the job sites that we use, and he hadn't put the amount as in what could budget for. So basically, instead of like about 50 quid, it was like £2,000. Do you know what I mean? Now,
Okay.
if I hadn't, like, years ago, I would have shouted and screamed and jumped up and down and been a nightmare, because it was like and but I couldn't, because ultimately I hadn't he had made a mistake. Do you know what I mean? An expensive mistake. But guess what he learned? Do you know? And he was sorry. And you know what I'm saying is, I think it's about working with people. We have to remember we are people ourselves. That's another thing we forget. We make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. And I think it's very important that your team is able to make mistakes. I mean, I always say to them when they come to me and they've done something and they like, I didn't want to say, I wanted to check with you because I didn't want to do it, and make a mistake. I said, have I ever, when you have made a mistake, been upset with you? No, not at all, Sarah. They
Ah,
make the mistake, you'll learn, because you'll never do it again. And if you've got the right people you've recruited in your business, they will also recognize the people that are not right for your business. So I don't need to rely on, like, if we have someone come into our team, probably I think in most times it takes about 8 or 9 weeks to really get to know somebody, really know. If they don't think that that person's right in the team, they'll say, do you know what I mean? Because they've already they're very protective over my, they don't just come to work for the money, they come because they want to make a difference. So like they're training people up, passion for learning is one of them, so they want to make a difference in the business. And a lot of my staff have come from referrals. So like Danny, who's my quality manager, she was a salon owner that had a business that used to do the delivery, the training through us, and she said I could see gaps in there that I think needed to be improved in, so I wanted to come and work in your business to do that, and she's done that. Do you know what I mean? So like that's
Wow.
the type of people you want. She liked me, she liked Julie, she liked what we stood for. The person that was in that role before probably wasn't as good. So like she was like, I want to make that difference and I want that job. So she came and worked for us on probably less than what she could have earned in her business at that point.
Wow.
But now she doesn't. She earns a lot more than that. And still has her business because she set her business up so that she doesn't have to be in there anymore.
Yeah.
My system, which I use because we taught her that system, how to do it. So she doesn't physically have to do the day to day. I call them the £1 jobs, the £2 jobs, and the £100
Yes.
jobs, like me. And I think when you're a small business, you think you can't afford to employ people, but actually you'll make more money if you employ quicker and train them well.
Right. Yes. Oh, okay. Couple of points here that I want to mention now. You said train them well,
Yeah, yeah.
right? I think people are training and telling people what to do and sending them documents and all of this. What does it mean to you when you say training your team well?
I think you need to understand right from the beginning that people learn in different ways. And I think that's because I learned how to teach, basically. I
Right.
learned how to teach people. I also realized as well is that if I people have to do things their own way. Does that mean? And there's lots of different types of people. So you're going to get people that are visually, learn visually. You'll get people that will listen. There'll be people that are kinesthetic, so they have to actually do it. And you'll
Mhm.
also get the readers, the people that will sit and read a book and be able to get it. So I think
Yeah.
when you're teaching anything in what you're doing, you have to be aware of those four things, that people are all different, and there needs to be an element of each. Does that make sense? To be in how you deliver training to them. And I think what a lot of people do is they let go of it too quick. So like you'll have somebody in, you've already got those systems and processes recorded. So like everything we do, we document, like we literally video it on Teams. And then if somebody new comes in, they can watch that. They can also shadow someone at the same time, so someone who's already doing that job, so they learn that way. There's lots of things written down that they can read, so you're literally getting, they can listen, do you know what I mean? So like they listen to stuff. So I think once you understand that they have that time, and I also think that people let go too quickly. So like everyone that comes into our business has a training plan right from the beginning, and what we've used is the apprenticeship schemes because they're amazing. Because like we've written our own apprenticeship scheme, so like every single member in my team has done some form of apprenticeship or always doing one. So my teachers have done the learning skills assessor and they've learned how to do the AET. Even if they've done something before, they'll go on to level 4 mentoring, then they go on to the level 5 teaching, or they'll go on to a quality role depending on what their strengths are and what they want.
Right.
My salespeople are the same. They do the sales executive, they do the lead generation. So we've got a whole system, and these are all apprenticeship money. So like once I realized that you could do this for apprenticeships, and my first one was in my salon, it was a nail apprenticeship. I just kept getting people coming to learn how to do nails, and not learn how to do, who applied for the jobs, and they were rubbish. They were absolutely fire. So I
Mm.
thought, well, I might as well train them myself. So I started training myself. But then I would not just teach them how to train. I would teach them how to get more clients coming in as well at the same time. So I would build their business for them, and then they'd up and leave. And I thought there must be a way of making money out of this. There must be a way. You see, that's how I got involved in the apprenticeship schemes, and I got small
Ah,
contracts, and it just expanded, and then there was lots of compliance stuff, and we couldn't get these bids,
Yeah.
couldn't find out why. So then we went and got educated on that. So like that, all, and now that is my program. I basically have all the stuff that it's my journey, but how to do it quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness, I love this. Okay. All right. So we've already figured out that you have taken so many different steps, right? So many pitfalls along the way. Was there a time where your family, your husband, your kids were like, "You're mad, just go and get a job. Why do you
All
keep
the
doing
time.
this?"
Yeah, all the time. I mean, my kids have always said to, I think my kids know what I'm like, okay, and they suffered as well at some point, because when I had my salon at the beginning, I was working like I think 9 o'clock, and we were finishing at 9 at night. And my husband actually came and worked in the salon. He gave up his job to walk in the salon. And the only reason he did, and he was not somebody that wanted to do nails, but to get.
I couldn't imagine why.
Oh, I absolutely did not want to. In fact, he used to say to people when they used to come in the door, they, what made you do this? He go, my wife made me. That's what he used to say. But sometimes you have to do what it takes to make things happen. I think that's it. So
Yeah.
he's been part of that journey. My daughter, she worked for me. And I wouldn't recommend having family members in your business, although my son is a sales. Yeah, well, I think it works sometimes, it doesn't sometimes. It depends on how you plan it. But my son is working for me at the moment, and but he is part of the management team, so he is part of what our growth and what we're trying to do. Now, he hasn't just got that. He went off and worked for other people first, did really well at what he did on that, and then came into my business because
Mm.
so I think my daughter was the other way around. She came into me quite young at 16, went through all my system, became a manager in one of my salons. So we bought another salon which was over in Ramsgate, she carried on managing that one because she'd been through the system, so she knew how it worked. And we taught her all the hair and beauty stuff, and then she went on to become, she's like team leader, then she became a manager, which are all apprenticeships, by the way. They're all like training programs. But what I like about it is it's actually you're writing your own training plans. So you've got every time someone new comes in the business, that plan's already written. Do you know what I mean? And that's how I've literally built my, every time we bring a new course into it, we put our own team through it first, so that we know that it works, and we know, and they'll give us feedback on what went well, what didn't go well, and how we did it. But yeah, going back to your question with the kids, yeah, and I think there's been a lot of times when they've wanted me to quit because I've worked lots of hours, and they've also seen a lot of stress because there's, when you're running a business, I always remember someone saying this to me, it's so true. The bigger your business grows, the bigger the problems get. And
Yes.
that's so true. I
Wow.
think the difference is that if you need to, in you're in business, constantly be working on how you think, as in your mindset, because it's the most important thing, and your health, and looking after your health, like, and I still do it to this day, like this year's been a particularly very busy year for me, and I became really ill because of it,
That's
because I
right.
wasn't looking after me. Yeah, so like
Mm.
that, people go, oh, I'm too busy to go to the gym, I'm too busy to go for a walk. No, you need to, because it's your time. I'm the most creative when I'm not actually in my business. So like if
Yeah.
I go to spa day, like when we've all gone to things where we've gone
Crystal Maze, right? How
all
great was
the
that?
things. Do you know what I mean? This is what I'm trying to say. When we go and do those things, when we went to Las Vegas,
Yeah.
it was all like those type of things is where I become the most creative, because getting around other business owners, I think it's really important that you have a network, a support network of people that are going through the same things that you are going. That was one of the reasons I came into the DI, because I knew the majority of those people in that had, if they hadn't got a business yet, they'd been from a corporate background where they'd done all the things that you have to do to get somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Or and
Yeah.
and there's all different strengths in there. So like you get to
Mm.
be with people. So I think there's an element that with your family sometimes that don't always understand what's going on. So that's the time when you need to tell them. And I think what a lot of us do is we're not very honest with them about how we're feeling. So like when the worst times that I've ever had is when I've been stressed, haven't told them, and then they feel as if I'm, pulling away from them. So when I've been really honest with them, like even to the day when I knew I was going to do this really busy year with what I was doing, I told them what I was aiming for. They all knew that there were certain things that I wanted to do. So I wanted to take the kids 2 years ago. I wanted to take my family to Disneyland. There was that was a goal. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we do this, I'm going to take you there. So they're grown. Like, so if they've got to make sacrifices, haven't they? Because you're not going to be present with them all the time. So what I would do is say, okay, the next 2 months I'm going to be super busy and I'm not going to be around as much. I'm going to be traveling. But
Yeah.
if I do this, we'll do this. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I don't think they really they all say to me all the time. My daughter said to me yesterday, we took the kids to the Harry Potter world, the
Oh,
studios.
nice.
Do you know what I mean? So it's important to put those things in your diary. So like,
Right.
she said to me, Mum, we don't mind, like, because she knows how poorly I've been, and she just said to me, we don't mind whether you're successful or you're not successful. We just want you in our lives, so don't make yourself
Oh,
poorly. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
that's how my family have always been. They've always been very, very supportive. My husband's amazing. Do you know what I mean? Like he's very much not a business person in any shape or form, with chalk and cheese. But if I hadn't got him in my life, then I don't know whether I would have been so successful, because when I needed to step away from the business and I can just be Sarah, I'm not a businesswoman anymore, and I can go in and, like, put what I call my comfy slippers on, and do you know what I mean? Hang
Yeah.
out with no bra, all those things. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
we did have conversations about that race that you do.
absolutely, yes. I was gonna say, totally. Do you know all those type of things? If you haven't got, I think if you haven't got the support of people around you, sometimes I think it's very easy to get so wrapped up in your business that you get to a point, and this has happened to me, where I've got to, and I've had to go, no, this is,
Oh,
why am I doing this? I'm doing it to be, this. And it's funny because I was talking to Rennie the other day, and I said, I've just had a realization. She said, you seem really much happier. I went, yeah, I've just realized that I have everything I want. I've got my kids, I've got I've got a nice life, and I don't need to strive. I hear these people all the time saying, I'm going to be 5 figures, I'm going to be 10 figures, I'm going to be 11 figures. Why? You need to decide what your money pot is. What is it? What does that look like to you? And then build a business around that money pot. When you get to that money pot and you've got the life you want, be okay about saying, that's fine, I'm happy now. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Because I think so many people don't. I think, and then they look back on their life, and I don't want to be that person that when I go to die, that I haven't done the things I wanted to do. Does that make sense? But I also don't want to be that person that looks back and goes, I missed out on all this. And when my kids were little, when I had the salon, which was part of the reason that I started my training academy, is I had to work in my business every single day. And when I stepped out of the business with my team, I still wasn't making the money I needed to be able to do the things that I wanted to do. So I thought the only way is to scale a business. Is a salon scalable? I don't think they are. That's my own
Right.
personal. I think you can have salons, but I think it's much more difficult nowadays than what it used to be. So that you need to be able to take that money and then use that money to invest into something else. And that's, I call it, create a cash flowing asset and then use that money to make more money. And that's how
Yeah.
I've grown my businesses. Do you know what I mean?
Oh
So
my goodness, I love it. So I feel like I can speak to you about all this stuff all day long, right? Like so much golden nugget. Like every word is like draws you in, right? It's so awesome. I love it. And I know, right? People at this point are probably thinking, "Oh my goodness, I need to get hold of Sarah. I need to have a conversation with her. I need to follow her on social media." And a birdie tells me that you also have a free gift for everyone. Is that right?
certainly have. I think this gift will basically, there's two things I've given
Oh,
you. One of them is about how ready you are for it. Okay. And then the second one is a presentation of actually the first few steps. So the first things are the missions. Do you know what I mean? So the one thing that you need straight away to be able, and why you need it. Do you know what I mean? The opportunities out there that you can get. So yeah, so I hope you all enjoy
Oh,
it.
oh my God, this is awesome, guys. The links will all be in the show notes. So make sure you scroll down and grab those free gifts, get started. And also, Sarah, if they want to get hold of you and connect with you on social media, where do they go?
Okay, so I'm known as the Funding Godmother. Okay, they are on the. I think it's Sarah Abel Funding Godmother. I think that's what it is off the top of my head. And then you've obviously got TMB Skills Training, which is my other business. So there's two on there that you can get hold of me. Either one doesn't matter. If you just get, direct message me, there'll be somebody at the end of that will message and then say what you want to get hold of me and the reason why, and they'll get hold of me basically.
Brilliant, brilliant, guys. We'll put all the social media links in the show notes as well. So make sure you connect with her, make sure you get the free gift, and see if you can actually get on a call with her. Right, if you're ready to see where the gaps are in your business and you want to apply for funding, which, oh my goodness, if they're giving money away, why wouldn't you, right? But we need the right steps to understand how to do this. You need to speak to Sarah right now. Oh my goodness, Sarah, thank you so much for coming onto the show. And like I said, so much golden nuggets. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. I've loved coming on here, Kay. You know I love to talk, so there you go.
I love it. I love it. Thank you once again, Sarah. Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.